the Celtics are heavily favored. So what has to happen in your or no? Are they not?
No, yeah. I know they're favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I was gonna say though is that with Miami, it's so crazy because you never see the actual Miami Heat team you see in the playoffs during the regular season. Somebody's either hurt or everything's different. The lineups are always different. I think that's a kind of an advantage they come into with the playoffs too. Like,
Heat culture
kicks in.
That's what
you don't know. Yeah, and you don't know who you've been playing all year. Like, there's guys that start 10 games that you never heard of at some point during the season. No disrespect to them, just saying they just pop up and they start. Like, and they have good games. And then it's like the season is so crazy for them as far as like lineups go. And then they get to the playoffs and you got these super competitors with Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler. Bam is a super competitor too. It's rubbing off on him. And you got these guys that made threes. And all of a sudden you're looking at this team that's like, they weren't even supposed to be here.
They weren't. But here they are. Once again.
Here we are.
They're here. Yeah.
Thanks to Michael Jordan, Jimmy Butler.
Imagine you hit that shot last year. That 3 in Game 7. Yeah. And what's funny is that after that game, it was Jimmy Butler on the podium saying, we're going to be back here in the conference finals. And here we are.
And
they're back in the conference final. Yeah. I mean, and they don't have Tyler Herro. And we should say that at the moment,
that would be
it's not clear. It's unlikely, it seems, based off what Eric Spoelstra said yesterday, that he will be returning. But I guess it's not out of the question. He could be back, I guess, but we'll have to see. We'll see. But maybe it's like Game 6. Whatever. Like, we'll have to see. But right now, I think it's fair to say that he won't be there for the first 4 or 5 games or whatever. But with that in mind, I mean, obviously, as I said earlier, the Celtics are the favorites. So what has to happen for Miami to make this series competitive / maybe win it? What's their avenue?
It's got to be a slugfest. It got to get ugly. Like, they got to do what they do. Grind them, wear them down. Cause turnover,
95, 93 finals. Yeah.
We got to go like it's 96. Like you got to, you know what I'm saying? We got to slow it'd be crazy to see, but like, that's what's got to happen. Of course, you run in transition when you create turnover, things like that, but they got to get under them guys' skin. And they defend as a unit. You know, both teams do. That's the thing. It's a slug match. Like, both teams, like, as far we look at Boston, like, a certain way because they got the 2 best wing tandems and they got guys that can score. They're a little younger, but they still carry that old school feel with them.
Sure.
Like, as far as their integrity on the defensive end and the way they go about things. Like, Marcus Smart's all over the place. Al Horford still brings a centerpiece that does that. Robert Williams does that. Like, Williams does that. They still got guys that bring that same type of toughness. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, Jimmy Butler has to have a ridiculous series. That is obvious to me. Bam Adebayo and even Kyle Lowry. So when we talk about secondary scoring, and Kyle, throughout this whole playoff run, you've seen him at points decide that he's going to score more. He had a game earlier this season. It was in that game, actually, December game, where he had a great performance, and he's had it here and there. And this is a series where they need him to score the ball. Sometimes it's like, maybe we do, but he also wants to get everyone involved. They have a lot of movement shooters, and he likes being quarterbacking their offensive attack. But this is a series, it feels like, where those step back threes, those mid-range twos, snaking in the pick and roll, hitting those mid-range shots, getting downhill. They need him to do that. And the Bam Kyle pick and roll as their secondary scoring outlet seems really crucial.
Yeah, Kyle's got to, when we talk about running the show, like, he's got to understand that, what's the famous quote made on this, I'm the play.
Oh, yeah.
He's got to understand that some of those is going to have to be him. It's going to have to be a game. He's going to have to make 7 threes. He's going to have to shoot that pull-up 3 in transition. He's going to be a little bit more aggressive in some of these things because this is a good defensive team, too, that plays in a way where they can switch a lot of the stuff with the moving, shooting, and things. So he's got to put pressure on them in certain places so he can keep them honest. And we're talking about the depth of Boston. Like, Malcolm Brogdon coming off the bench. The fact that they got multiple guys that can just have big nights and score the ball over there, even though Jayson and Jalen do a lot of the heavy lifting. They don't have the same type of depth over in Miami. They got guys that play and they got guys, but it's not the same. at every position. They got some couple more moving shooters, couple more wing guys, but it's not the same at every position. And I think that's going to be big
No,
in
it's
this
not.
series. And there's a little bit more experience.
Yeah. Something I'm curious about is heading into this series, like with Al Horford, who's again just continues to defy age. Doesn't
That's another
matter the way
person.
he plays, man, is so aggressive, so tenacious. He moves so well still, and typically he's in a drop coverage. That's how they tend to roll with things. But against Miami, in order to ensure that Bam, Kyle aren't that secondary option, maybe they do go, as you said earlier, straight up switching everything. And they have the personnel to do that. And the Celtics have a lot more size. Like that's like point blank. They have a lot more size from top to bottom in this series. And you saw what Jayson Tatum did in Game 7. Man, that was nuts. He can hit shot. If he can hit shots over Joel Embiid, pull up threes, he can probably do it against anyone on the Miami Heat. And so you worry about that if you're Miami. But the Celtics, they are a jump shooting team. They love shooting their threes. And your outlift probably for Miami is you got to muck it up. Your zone defense, you trust their slinky style of defense. Everyone's in the right spot at the right time. It's so annoying probably for an offensive team. And you bank on that and hopefully you can make them miss those threes. Or you have a few games where they don't make those shots and then you're able to capitalize. But it's hard to see Miami being able to pull this out and also just being able to contain the Celtics enough times to win 4 games in this series.
The thing that's funny though is that's the way Miami like it. It seems.
Yeah,
that's like what we saying. Like it's hard. Like it's like this. It don't look good. It looks like it's gonna be this crazy mountain we got to climb. I feel like that's the way they like this game to be played.
Yeah,
because it allows that desperation that they carry so much to shine. You know what I mean? Like this is what we built off of. It gets them going because it is what they built off of.
Yeah.
That even the years where they would, like we talked about, they were a number 1 seed in one of them years, you still felt that desperation to prove that, like, nah, you're not going, like, we got it, like, type thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing that comes with this because they don't got nothing to lose going into this. Now, on the other side, you talked about Jayson, like him riding that wave of confidence into this series is kind of scary.
Yeah.
Because like you said, he can make shots on anybody. Big, long, tall guy, handles it well, can drive it, can post it, sidestep threes, all the above. So if you get him going, that's a different. You got Jalen putting a whole type of different pressure on you. And that's the thing too, because both of those guys need a Jimmy Butler type defender on them.
They do. And Jimmy likes attacking Marcus Smart. Marcus is a great defender, but Jimmy has success against him. And like Brogdon, Derek White, all these guys, Jimmy's like, you guys are food for me. Yeah. So it might require those guys, a Jalen, a Jayson, like they may have to take on that matchup.
It's definitely going to be Jalen.
Yeah, probably.
And
he'll want it too. It seems like everything I'm seeing, it seems like he wants that matchup, if anything.
I think they're going to try Marcus, obviously, because if you don't have to put Jalen or Jalen on him to keep him out of foul trouble, and you keep that scoring punch, and Marcus, given his style of play, might be able to get Jimmy in foul trouble.
Sure.
Then you go with that first, and I think Marcus is going to ask for him first too.
Definitely.
Because then we also can play small. So now I can play Marcus and Brogdon. Then I can play Jalen and Jayson, and then I can play Al Horford. Or Williams. So I can play those 2 wings, those 2 guards. We can guard everybody and switch everything if we want. I get 2 guards to guard Kyle and Jimmy, and I get the wings to guard the wing shooters. They just switch everything too, and then I got somebody for Al Horford.
Yeah,
I mean somebody for Bam. I got 3 guys for Bam. I got Williams, I got Horford, and I got both Williams actually, right? Am I tripping?
Yeah, Grant.
Yeah, Grant.
Yeah, you could try Grant.
I could try Grant on him too.
Yeah. No, they have options, and that's probably the biggest takeaway from this is that the Celtics, they have options and ways in which they can win this series, and the Miami Heat don't. However, if they just go off from three, if these moving shooters if they just go off from 3, if they
always got a chance.
Shooters, you have a chance. Right, you
if
always
we get
have
some big Duncan Robinson games. We get some bubble Duncan Robinson. We get some, even though it wasn't real, we get some of that. We get Kyle making 4 or 5 because even Jimmy's had big 3-point games in this season. I mean, in these playoffs. there's guys that can make them. You know what I mean? Like we move it, get open shots. I mean,
anything could happen.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. But also on this, the Celtics haven't seen an offense like this yet. You know, that's so much movement, and everybody. I'm not saying they can't do it, but that could make them lose game one. And all of a sudden, hey, Miami has one game and they're that much closer to the NBA Finals. Like that kind of stuff does matter, and you trust the Heat to bring the same kind of effort game by game by game. I don't know if you can say that with the Boston Celtics, considering what we've seen.
Yeah. You might be right. Because
the discipline, it's
Boston
not there.
could come out one of these nights and lose by 15.
Yeah.
It could happen just because Miami just decided they was going to attack them the whole time. Because the one thing about Miami, they do not give a flying. Like, they do not care. That's one thing they don't. They don't care about the odds, the players, what anybody else thinks. So, like, that confidence, even if they don't always have the most talent compared to the team, that is enough to match it a lot of nights. Like, just the fact that we're going to play harder than you and we're going to grind this out.
And lastly, if the Celtics miss threes, they are a different team.
100%.
A very different team.
100%.
And that, again, could be a reason why Miami Heat is able to stay in this series.
Oh, no, it's going to be a series.
Make them interesting. Yeah, you think so?
It's going to be a series. I think it's going to be a series. I think I'm going to give Miami their credit for the way that they play, the way that they do, the way they approach the game. That is going to be a series. Like, there's just, I think it's hard to, even if it's, I shouldn't say a series, the games are going to be close. Even if it ends up a sweep on either way, I don't think there'll be any blowout games. I think Boston will lock in. I think they have the potential for that 15-point type of game to happen to them. But I think we're at a point where I want to trust in what they say they want. Jalen, they say they want to win this thing. Jayson say he want to win this thing. Like, well, this is where we find out how bad you really want to win it.
Another cliffhanger.
Dun, 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 dun. Find out next time.
Yeah.
Or 3 days later.